What's going on, everyone? So, Victor Wembanyama wants to be a Spur for life. From him, he said it himself. Wemby says he wants to be a Spur for life. I know that not every player in the NBA has the same ambitions, but it's obvious my dream is to spend my entire career with a single franchise here in San Antonio. And this was via Maxime Abin 1. Now, here's the thing. I love it. I believe it. I'm not saying that I doubt what he's saying by any stretch of the imagination, but that's usually how it goes, right? Team gets drafted, brought to their team, and they want to stay there. The outliers happen where guys like, as soon as I can get out of here, I want to, or they didn't want to be in Charlotte or something like that. But San Antonio, pristine organization, you're in Texas, no state tax. Like, there are benefits even beyond being on the team, but you're in an organization that is, that wants to win, that has proven that they can win and has had dynasties and all this stuff, right? Like, Victor Wembanyama is in an excellent position. I think more often than not, players are drafted and have that thought of like, man, I would love to spend my career here, right? Especially if it's in a place that they like and are comfortable with, especially these European players, especially these foreign players, right? But that doesn't mean that the Spurs can be laxed, right? And things change. People's plans change. People's opinions change. Like LeBron, for example. You think LeBron ever originally wanted to leave Cleveland? Of course not. It was his hometown. It's where he wanted to be. He's from Akron, right? I mean, he loved it so much he went back. Even with, Dan Gilbert talking all that mess and people burning his jerseys and stuff like that. Right? Because, again, the Cavs didn't do what they were supposed to do, got comfortable, didn't think LeBron would leave, and he left. And we've seen it happen, right? Kobe with the Lakers wanted to get traded. Right, we've seen guys get antsy. Giannis, right? Giannis could end up being the first European guy, like high-end profile European, because usually that's the thing, they stick around, right? They don't want to leave. We've seen guys, Shaq leave, Kareem, we've seen guys leave and want to leave, right? Because they feel like their teams aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, or that this place is a better opportunity for us. Right? So, again, the Spurs still have to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, keeping your star happy, keep Wemby happy. Luckily, Wemby seems to be on the same page because he's talked very heavily recently, and he talked about how, he was asked, are you disappointed that they didn't go and get that guy, that Kevin Durant? Jaylen Brown was a guy that was linked, Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? Like, why are you okay that they didn't go and do that? And he said, and I'm paraphrasing here. I did a whole video on it if you want exactly what was said, but essentially was like, hey, like, very rarely does that work, right? More often than not, it doesn't work. So I'd rather them kind of just stay the course. I'd rather them, stick with the script, stick with the young guys, don't sell the farm, but obviously, look, if the Spurs believe, if the right guy becomes, like if Giannis became available, I think the Spurs would make a play for him, right? But he's one of those few guys in the league that you could justify. But like a Jaylen Brown, a Kevin Durant, like those guys, I even talked about it when the Kevin Durant rumors were going around. Like, I don't think Kevin Durant is necessarily the answer. I wouldn't hate it if it happens and you can get him cheap, then sure. If you can get him at the right price, then sure. Right? If the right opportunistic trade comes around, take it. Nothing wrong with that. But to go and, sell the farm, and you also got to keep in mind, if you trade for one of these guys, if you trade for Giannis, if you trade for a Kevin Durant, if you were to trade for Jaylen Brown, guess what? That's it. You're all in. There's no more, hey, we're going to wait and see what Dylan Harper becomes. It's not, hey, we're going to wait for Stephon, because you don't have the time. Now you're all in, you're trying to win a championship and get everything in order, so you're trading whatever you have to. Because it doesn't make sense to go get one of those guys at the age that they're at to then spend another 3 years carving it out. No, you're trying to win a championship, if not multiple by that time, right? You're trying to have won a championship or two within that 3-year span. So again, if you're the Spurs, you want to make sure the Spurs don't want to get comfortable. Right? Spurs don't want to end up thinking, because he feels that way now, that that's always going to be the case. We've seen a lot of guys end up on different teams over the years. Seen a lot of players that we never thought was going to be anywhere else and did. Damian Lillard gets traded to Milwaukee, comes back to Portland recently, right? Like, he was Mr. Portland forever. He wanted his, and he did everything. I mean, he's one of the guys that, like, if anyone deserved to leave, it was him. Like, he's one of the few guys that left and nobody cared. Like, everyone was like, good for him. Right? Even Portland fans were like, great for Dame. Right? About time. Like, it's just, that very rarely happens. Usually fans aren't happy about that. And again, I understand that the European guys and whatnot, right? But that doesn't mean there's not that one. Somebody's going to be that first. Right? Like, and obviously Luke is a Laker now and stuff like that, but he didn't ask for it. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay with Dallas. Right? Now he's a Laker. Right? I'm talking about a guy actually going, you know what? I'm going to get out of here. Right? I need to leave. Right? Like, they're just not, we're not in a position. Giannis seems like the most likely, right? But again, no team thinks their superstar is ever going to ask out until they ask out. Like, every team thinks, like, you think the Cavs thought LeBron was going to ask out when he did? You think, Shaq, you think Orlando ever thought Shaq was just going to walk and leave him? You think the Bucks ever thought Kareem? Do you ever, again, you don't know until you get there. Right? Like, Tony Parker played for the Charlotte Hornets, right? Like, you'd be surprised at what ends up happening. And guys, I get that that's not like a Tim Duncan or something like that, but you get the point. Like, that was a guy that was supposed to be a Spurs Lifer and was part of the dynasty and all that stuff. You never know. We've seen Hakeem. We've seen all kinds of guys end up playing elsewhere because, for one reason or another, not saying that they left, but, for one reason or another, you never know what the future is going to hold. I love that Wemby is saying all the right things right now. And like I said, I believe him. I wholeheartedly believe him. Right? But again, opinions change. Thoughts change. You wanting to stay with Wemby gets 7 years into his career and the Spurs still are, a first round exit. At what point does he go, they're not doing what we need to do? Right? Like, and are the Spurs prepared to do that? Again, it doesn't always work out, but I trust that he will be. I think the Spurs will do whatever they have to. I think they'll trade whatever that. I think because he's a guy that's worth that. If you have to trade Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle to go get Giannis, because just using this as an extreme example, but if you had to trade that because you're worried Wemby's gonna leave, you do it. Right? Like, you go, hey, sorry guys, because you don't want Wemby to leave. But we'll see. Time will tell. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.